Wrong, I was making some guesses there. Of these games, we looked at a little bit of some of these yesterday. Can you remind me which of these we looked at yesterday? We'll start with others. I think we'll get to look at all of them, but I thought we would start with games we hadn't seen any of yet.
We looked at the Kevin and Nathan game.
Did we look at John and Paul?
Yeah.
Okay, we will do those as well. But we'll start with these. Okay. This approach is common enough, except that normally you see white being a little bit more distant. Now when white extends backwards, this move is an excellent extension from the cornerstone. In the game you can see that there's a little bit more space over here. Since this is a strong position, that means when black comes in here, there's a little bit more pressure on these stones than if white is aligned further back. Okay. 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 There's a little bit of a strategic inconsistency. This 3-3 point secures a fair bit of territory with only one move because it's in the corner. However, because it's in a low position from both edges, it's difficult to turn it into a structure that has growth potential. So normally, when you play a 3-3 point, you're not looking to build a structure, you're looking to get territory, and your overall strategy for the game is to reduce your opponent's territory. Typically players who play this way, like Sakata was a master at it when I was in Japan, they're spending the whole time in their opponent's area. He was great at making weak groups live, and so he'd get a lot of tight territory, and then he'd just invade and invade and invade and reduce the opponent. But here you can see that white has gone for a structure on the lower side here. And this stone is not really ideally placed. If you were to think, for example, instead of being on these two locations, if white had these two locations, now white would have more local territory. White would have more pressure on the black approach move. And white stones will be working together a little bit better. But still in all, the opening is pretty straightforward. The other thing I would say about the position to here is that you have a kind of competing structure game here, with white having something of a structure and black having a lot of potential over here. Let's take a look at this. The theory, what is the theory of a large structure? The theory of a large structure is that you have a lot of potential territory that you're claiming with a relatively small number of stones. Now, you can't take territory. This is a potential, it's not an actual. But the theory is that it's big enough that you force the opponent to come in. And when he comes in, you attack him, and in this process of attacking him, you solidify the remainder. What this means is you build a large structure with attacking moves, not territory moves. You see here, this one space jump is an attacking move. What has happened is that if you back up a second here, okay, let's pop back to here and then go up one. See here. At this point in time, white can come in over here or white can come in over here, and they're relatively speaking equal possibilities. By playing here, white has been channeled into this area. So you know you're going to see white stones in here. Since you're going to see white stones in here, by playing here, this stone is in a position to attack white better than the territorial move is. Typically what happens with the structure is when you play a territory move, it is the final move that turns the structure into actual territory. Up until that time, you build a structure with attacking moves, moves that have attacking relationships, not with territory moves. Now, you do have to have in a structure some balance between the third and fourth line. If you only have fourth line moves, it becomes too easy for the opponent to invade. But given that you have to have some balance between third and fourth lines, mostly you want your stones up where they're going to be in a position to attack. Because black plays here, he puts white down over here. As white is going to be over here, this is going to naturally turn into territory. In some sense, when you play this third line move, you're actually just taking less territory. Now you're going to have less territory over here, which is where white is not going to compete with you. White's going to compete over here because there's more space. It's easier to get in. It's not so much of a problem. So through here, pretty straightforward. Right. This is a loss. This white move here. Yeah. Mostly what you see here is this. And this is White's plan here. You see here now the cut and the turn. All these moves are sente. You see how much stronger black is in this case in comparison with the other diagram? Okay.
Is that, it looks to me like that's the wrong side to block on. When, not the, I think that's, yeah. Instead of descending now, wouldn't it be better just to maybe make the diagonal connection towards the center?
Well, here, if see, because this stone is not in good attack position, that's really where black is getting not such a good result here. If this stone were in attack position, he'd be able to put substantially more pressure on white. Let's just go back to that, and you can see the difference. This is par here. You see how this stone is supporting black and limiting white in the corner? This is a cute little move here. White would like to do this, but see now the corner drops off, or else white loses all his eyes. So white is sealed into a small corner. Black gets sente, and you see that black has a perfect position in terms of potential territory over here and potential territory over here. If you go back to the game diagram, because this stone is out of position, now probably the best thing would be to just simply connect here. I guess, and it looks like this. But you can see that white has a bigger corner and black has a more defective position than otherwise, and it traces back to that move. Notwithstanding that, this looks to be more. This is superior for black.
Yeah.
You can see that black played the outer honey in order to protect the edge, but now when black switches back and blocks over here, white is flowing into that area, and it's not turning into territory anyway. So what's big here? White is concerned if he plays Hane and Connect that black isn't going to answer, and he's probably right. White has come in here and done relatively well there. White's playing a sort of territorial that is a kind of a combination of a structure, and then this line of play over here was more territorial. This looks out of place. It looks too deep inside black's territory on the one hand. It doesn't seem necessary to try and push black down to this extent. White has lots of territory too. And
Maybe just a two-space jump up from that stone.
from
Yeah,
here.
yeah, two spaces instead of one, I would say. Can't White go another space up?
Well, see, the problem with this move is that this is not where White's territory is. This is that structure area over here. This is where the points are. So this move actually is not building White up to that extent. It's just walking into black's potential. And so it has mostly a negative meaning. That kind of is why it inclined me to more play over here, to just keep building what White has, to build this area up still further. And now if you look at, these two stones here, there's a follow-up move to substantially build up more center territory. The question is, how would this game look? This is a counting problem. Anyway, getting back to the game, this is pretty submissive. I would be very inclined on black's part to look to more of a counterattack, or possibly here. Yes. Yes, actually this feels right.
What feels right about this?
Well, what does White do?
I would be kind of inclined to run towards my upper right fourth line.
Here?
Yeah.
No.
Another diagonal.
That?
What about the,
That's feasible.
what
Mhm.
about the knight's move instead of the diagonal? Hunt. Third cut.
Then maybe Atari on on the other side, and then what? Can he Atari on where 51 is, and then march out the other way?
Well, on the one hand, White is a little bit more inclined to use this driving Tsuki. But on the other hand, that kind of weakens his position over here. And you can see that White is more on the defensive than Black is, and essentially what's happening is White is pushing Black into White's potential
Yeah.
territory,
Yeah.
so that Black is not only getting some gains over on this side, but at the same time, Black is pushing White down over here. And White, while he has limited Black's growth potential, hasn't actually hurt his territory yet. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's a little inconsistent here. I would think from Black's perspective, in this diagram, Black would just continue sucking the stone up. And if Black was concerned about White, I would think instead of jumping out here, he would come in right away before White gets one more stone down. In any event, an operation on the lower side here doesn't look very feasible. White has enough stones in the area that it would be very hard. If black is concerned about it, rather than trying to actually invade over here, which is sort of small anyway, I'd be looking to control the scale. Come out with a move like this, and use the strength behind so that you're not afraid of being separated over here, and just reduce the scale on this side. The local territory isn't that important. This move actually helps black. As white, I'm more inclined to not make that exchange. I'm thinking these stones are dead. What does black do from here? Does black do this one? There's a long way from these stones to having any kind of life. And here white is just giving up. You can't answer inside like that. Use this stone, block the exit, force black to live inside. The thing is here, you know, maybe these stones can be killed, maybe they can't be killed. That isn't at the end of the day necessarily that important. The thing to keep in mind is that you get the most value from pressuring the opponent. You just want to make it hard for them. You start to play inside your own territory and give them 2 moves in a row, and you're making it easy for them. You contain them. If he can winkle out a way to live, that's fine, but you will get good compensation by making it hard for them. When the opponent invades your structure, in a typical kind of game, you can't, sometimes they're unreasonable invasions, but most of the time you can't expect to kill them. Notwithstanding that, you start off with the same moves you would use if you weren't intended to kill them. You're just putting the pressure on them. The key thing is to find the moment to stop and to say, okay, I can just take this and get my profit and move on.